Hey mate, I'm Alex.
And I'm Gaston.
Welcome to Power Mates.
This is a place to learn and share about Fabric and Power Platform. If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this channel with your friends and colleagues. Our main topic for today is to continue our journey discovering ways to connect Power Platform and Microsoft Fabric. So, Alex, can you share a quick recap on our journey?
Yeah, sure, Gaston. If you remember, in our last episode, we covered an introduction to Power Platform and details around Dataverse. So we end up showing how easy it was to connect Dataverse in the Power Platform side of things with Microsoft Fabric. But let me share my screen so we can quickly review again what's in the Dataverse side of the house. So if you remember here, we entered to Power Apps, make.powerapps.com. And here we have the option tables. The option tables is the reference for Dataverse. If we click on the table option, we are going to see all the tables we have in our Dataverse. Maybe you can see Dataverse as a database. So here we have all your tables in a database, but Dataverse, it's more than a database. It's a huge platform or service over data. So here we can see all the tables. And for example, account, if we click on the account tables, we can see as in a single table, all data related to the table and all the options and works we can do in the table. The schema with the columns, relationship keys, and data experiences and customizations.
But Alex, tell me, what is the purpose for a business user? What is the use case? Why we should be exporting our Power Apps data to Fabric? What are the real benefits?
That's a great question, Gaston. Uh, there are multiple ways to explain this, but let me share a quick example. Let's say that you are creating an application for your business, and at some point, you are going to analyze the data from your application. And that trigger immediately the connection to Microsoft Fabric as a way to analyze your data and make a better decision for your business. So that is where you can leverage all those artifacts and workloads in Fabric, like a lakehouse, data warehouse, dataset, and so on. So, Gaston, in order to continue in our journey, why in Fabric after you show our landing of the account table to Dataverse in our lakehouse, I found now like three different artifacts in your Fabric environment. Why is that?
Yeah, let me explain further on that one. And in the meanwhile, I can show the purpose of all those artifacts that with quick examples. Let's go over to my machine. Uh, as you can see, was kind of the landing of Microsoft Fabric environment. And we mentioned that in our last couple of episodes where we cover kind of all the workloads, Power BI, their factories, apps, and so on. In our last session, we discussed about Data Factory, and Data Factory was the main purpose of creating a pipeline where we define as a source the connections to the Dataverse, and then the entity in our case was hitting the account table and then landing as a destination into our lakehouse. After we run this pipeline in our Fabric environment, we see not just one, we see three different artifacts. And we see the lakehouse here, we see a SQL endpoint by default, and a dataset also by default. So let's switch a little bit to the lakehouse and let's open the lakehouse. In this case, you have table structure, file structure that depends on loading structured data or unstructured data. You can upload any file directly from here. If you have a CSV file or JSON file or whatever, you can load files directly into your lakehouse. You can see our account table that we see now that we run the first pipeline. But then you have a couple of options. If you're familiar with notebooks and Python scripts, you can create your notebook directly from here. If you are more familiar with this SQL statement, let's say that you've been using SQL Management Studio or Azure Data Studio for a while and you don't want to be overwhelmed with a new language or something like that, you can switch in the top right here from the Lakehouse view to a SQL endpoint view. So in the SQL endpoint view, you can start looking at your tables and you can start creating your tsql command directly from here. So you have this new SQL query where if you hit this option, you're going to see that you can run tsql commands. And I'm running one right now, one SQL command to see all my data in my account table. Another option is to create a new visual query here. And the new visual query here is going to open uh, something like this one, where you can start reading your data and creating your visual query in another option that is kind of a manage columns, keep top rows or keep bottom rows, or sort your data in some way or group by in any definition here. And this is going to create for you a SQL statement. Another option to start analyzing your data in your lakehouse is using your data set by default, and from that data set by default, create directly a new report. So from here, you also have the option from the lakehouse to create a new report. So from this option here, you can run a new Power BI report, and from this option, you're going to ending up in this page. This page is nothing else like the Power BI service where I have my account table and I'm using two different uh, entities and use two different columns here. One is the account name, the other is revenue, and I'm creating a Power BI report from scratch. So this is a little bit of the definition of why the Lakehouse already have a data set and where you can pull all your data and create a Power BI report directly from scratch, analyzing your data into the Lakehouse. Remember that we are using the account table that we land from the Dataverse from our Power Apps environment.
That's great, Gaston. We have like the entire journey of the data between Dataverse in the Power Platform side of things and Microsoft Fabric and Power BI. So with that wraps up today's episode. PowerMate, we hope you are excited as we are the potential of the combining Microsoft Power Platform and Microsoft Fabric.
Stay tuned. In our next episode, we will be talking about Copilot and Microsoft Fabric.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and join us in this journey.
Together, let's unlock the full potential of Power Platform and Microsoft Fabric.